Bon dia a tothom. Good morning, everybody. Today we have another ethic integrative seminar. Narcís Parés will dissert about full body interaction designs. I think that Narcís doesn't need an introduction at all. So he has been with us for so long. He's a computer scientist, but he's also a communication he's probably a living example of interdisciplinary research. So he has been doing a lot of things, and I think that the talk will be really interesting. But before going to Narcís' talk, I'd like to share with you a couple of information. First of all, we will have another integrative seminar this year. Will be a special integrative seminar by Dorcas Muzzoni. Dorcas Muzzoni will be our doctorate PhD by the UPF. This will be the 15th of December. There will be a ceremony here in this auditorium. All of you are invited to attend. But the day before, Dorcas will give an integrative seminar, sharing with us her thoughts about how technology is shaping society, especially in Africa. This is Dorcas. This will be Dorcas' dissertation. After the seminar, there will be also some snacks. And these snacks will be open to all the ethic, including students, trying to celebrate the Dorcas honorary PhD and also the Christmas and everything. So there will be a special week this week, having a lot of celebrations. The 14th, more internal for our community, and the 15th more open to the rest of the university. So all of you are invited to attend, and please just book your agendas. But I think there will be a lot of interesting things to share and to discuss with her. And that's all from my side. So Narcís,
thank you.
The floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Yes? Excellent. So, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the department for inviting me to share my research here with all of you. And thank you for coming and listen to my talk. As you know, I'm Narcís Parés, and I lead the Full Body Interaction Lab, which is a lab found within the Cognitive Media Technologies group that is led by Xavier Binefa. And this is the outline of my talk, which will be basically divided into four main parts. I will first introduce my field of research, explaining why we should care about full body interaction. The second part will allow me to present an overview of full body interactive projects that we've done so that you get an idea of different things that we have been developing in the past 10 to 15 years. And then, although in my abstract I said I would focus on one detailed example, I will actually do two, because I think the two give a good idea of how we proceed in our research, which is a very different research from other types of research that are being done in the department, and I think it's interesting. It can be interesting for you to see how we do it. So these are the keywords that I will be using in my introduction to the field. And although it will be very brief because I don't have too much time and I have a lot of things to say, but if anyone is interested later on in contacting me, we can talk and go for a beer, non-alcoholic in my case, but we can talk whenever you wish. So I will start explaining why we should care at all about full body interaction, and I will briefly explain how it is supported by more general theories that have had the confluence in what the notion of embodied cognition, and then I will introduce how we see human-computer interaction and how it is based on communication and mediation of experiences in our case, and finally briefly describe how we approach our design and evaluation of these experiences in full body interaction. So we are doing research in full body interaction because there's quite a bit of things that have to be done yet. As many researchers in human-computer interaction have been criticizing the stance of how you deal with a human being and a computer system since the 80s. For example, how Bill Buxton defines how distorted the human body becomes when putting it in front of a computer system, which is a desktop standard system with keyboard and mouse, and how that is a very limiting way or limited way of addressing interaction, although it can be very useful for many things, but how it can be expanded. And then Jonathan Gruden has also been, since 1990, dealing with how this evolution of gradually incorporating the physical world into the relationship between the human being and the computer system has also been one of the multiple examples that we could find of researchers that became worried about how we can change this relationship between the human being and the computer systems. So more importantly though, theories from many different fields that already existed for a long time, and many that also started to appear through these last years, have shown the importance of our bodies and the importance that our bodies have in our relationship with the world and how we understand the world and how we understand the environment we inhabit, and also with other human beings. So, for example, from philosophy, Merleau-Ponty broke the Cartesian view that separated mind and body. From psychology, Gibson provided his ecological approach to visual perception, making stress on how the body mediates our experience of the world. From psychology, social psychology, Barcelou and Niedenthal proposed that our knowledge is not a modal and that it is rooted completely in our physical experience since we are born, and even at the highest level of cognition, which is very interesting and very important. Also, Barcelou, again, from the cognitive science standpoint, stresses how our motor areas in the brain are closely related to our cognitive processing, and this is reinforced by the definition of the mirror neurons by Gallese. Also, from cognitive linguistics, Lakoff and Johnson analyze how our language reflects through metaphors the importance of our action in the world and how we constantly use those metaphors in our language based on this activity in our world. And in developmental psychology, both Piaget and Vygotsky, in different ways, they describe how our learning and developmental processes are guided and affected by our action in and on the world. Finally, Varela, from a mixture of philosophy, biology, and neuroscience, also strengthens the importance of having a body in our cognitive processes, even to the point of affecting things such as our cultural context. So it's not only how we understand the world, but also how we live in society and how we structure culture around us. And all these references have little by little trickled into human-computer interaction. And people such as Paul Dorish have proposed this idea of embodied interaction. And his approach is based on a branch of philosophy called phenomenology, which actually looks at how we live the experiences in the world. And despite he makes a very detailed philosophical account on how this might work and occur and how it might affect users in a human-computer interaction system, there's still a lot of work to resolve how this actually can be designed and how we can use that to our advantage. And this is why we do research in this area, and we try in practice to take the most advantage of these properties and apparent benefits of using the body in interactive experiences. So among many others, Terry Winograd became very worried about the issue of how we can achieve successful interaction with computers. And in this regard, to us, the act of interacting with a computer or a computer system in general is essentially a communication act. So let me just do a little bit of sidestepping to clarify for a minute what communication is, because due to Shannon's work, for many years, communication has been equated to transmission. And we think that Shannon should have called his theory a mathematical theory of transmission, because this only describes the process of getting a piece of information from one end of a medium to the other end, without noise, without any losses, etc. But it's just a matter of getting one thing from one point to the other. In fact, communication is actually not worried about this, how content is transmitted. No? It actually gives transmission for granted. So I communicate something and it gets to the other end. That's it. What it really is worried about is what happens at either end of this transmission medium, and more specifically, how it is interpreted. So this is important in human-computer interaction because it allows us to understand how we mediate those experiences rather than only placing the users in front of tasks. Okay. And hence, we are worried about how we can construct a specific meaning for the user through these interactive experiences. No? And the important thing is that the medium, the importance of the medium when it comes into play is that it does affect the way you communicate things. And as Terry Winograd, as many communication scholars did also many years before him, noticed that we must find and get to know the specificities of each medium. So as to be able to use it wisely and in a justified manner. And that's why it's important to understand full-body interaction, not only from a technological aspect, but also from a communicational and media stance. And when we go into full-body interaction, we're trying to understand how the inclusion of the body and its relation with space and its relation with other bodies, with other users, affect this interactive experience. And as Honecker states, in full-body interaction, a communicative act is not only that which does an action which is meaningful, but also entails the how the action is done in space and with the body. So therefore, how we are doing these things is important, and that's why we have to do research, not only say, yes, these things are in the air and we have to take advantage of them, but how we are going to take advantage of them. So we want to actually mediate the experience and understand how we can mediate the experience of the user with the system through the medium, but also, for example, mediate the experience of one user with another user through the system. And since we want to understand how to better design and how to take advantage of all these issues in design, we focus on designing communication and mediation by generating meaning and experiences. And we do this through carefully understanding the constraints that we have to deal with in this medium of full-body interactive experiences. So these are the areas of constraints, or seeing it in a more constructive point of view, the areas of potential that we have at hand for defining these experiences, from all the cognitive aspects, all the bodily aspects, all the spatial aspects, and the social aspects or perspectives, and how we can deal with them in a unified manner. Also, when we design, we apply very much co-design methods because we believe that we have to incorporate the voice of all stakeholders in the design. This is something that is quite common in human-computer interaction, but using participatory design methods in full-body interaction is not trivial. On the one hand, because most users and stakeholders have no clear awareness of their body and how it can intervene in the interactive experience, and therefore it is very difficult for them to contribute to the actual design and co-design sessions and activities. This is why also we are defining a method that we call the FUBI method to try to facilitate the incorporation of the body in the design activities, in the co-design activities, from the point of view of the co-designers, of the users. In general, we work with children, but any other users, learners, museum visitors, people with special needs, etc., and also on the side of experts. And finally, to close this first part of my talk, also just briefly talk about the technology and the evaluation. We do not use any particular technology, that we don't bet on one specific technology. We are actually very techno-critical, and we are always suspicious of those technologies that are sold as panaceas. So every time that a Kinect comes out, or that a HoloLens comes out, and that everybody is saying this is going to save the world and this will be the solution, the best solution for interacting with a computer system, we always take it very cautiously and we try to analyze it and understand it. And there's always a lack of evaluation, serious evaluation in these areas, and we try to not fall into that trap, and we use what we call multimodal evaluation, are called multimodal evaluation methods, in which we use ensemble a whole range or a whole battery of evaluation methods that can help us understand what we're doing from many different points of view, from system data logs, from video coding, video recordings, through different type of evaluation grids, such as psychological grids, from standard psychological approaches, or interviews, focus groups, etc., 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 and also physiological data. Okay, so I will now go on to the second section of the talk, which will be going briefly through a set of works that we have done in the past, as I was saying, 15 years, more or less. And most of which have this physical format of an interactive playground. And the reason is that in this very free playing environments, many things can occur that are dealing with how we learn, with how we understand different aspects of our world, or we can communicate different contents, etc. Since I will have no time to explain them in detail, if anyone is interested, we can later talk about them. I would like to start with this installation that we did for this event called the Universal Forum of Cultures. It's among the diversity of media that we have worked with, this one is working with a physical medium, which is water, and interacting with water. And it was the first set of interactive fountains that were built for a large public space and a large throughput of visitors. And the idea was to enhance the understanding of the three abstract thematic axes of the event, of the forum, which were respect for diversity, work for peace, and sustainability. And the play strategy and the interaction strategy that we proposed was quite successful in allowing children to understand these abstract concepts. We have also done interactive experiences for cultural heritage, and in this case, visitors to a museum in Ulldecona, which is 2 hours south of Barcelona, they can access an experience that allows them to understand the hunting strategies that are depicted in some cave paintings in the area. And this installation is still being used nowadays after 10 years almost now as a pedagogical tool by the museum, and it has been quite interesting to see how it can really become one key part of the whole visit to the museum and to the actual cave paintings of the area. We have also addressed different areas of special needs. We have, for example, worked to achieve an experience that fosters physical activity and counters sedentary behaviors. This is the interactive slide, which is a large inflatable slide, which has the sliding area 4 by 3 meters and is a projection screen. And through a computer vision system, we can detect where the users are. And we work together with the physical education experts from the National Institute of Physical Education to not only foster physical activity, but also control the amount of physical activity that the children do while playing. So we defined a number of different experiences also to address the different types of physical activity that can be done and that are useful, such as force, elasticity, coordination, resistance, etc. And the idea is not only to see how well they do physical activity, but we actually validated our approach by defining a system parameter that we call the interaction tempo, and we managed to prove that this parameter allows us to control the amount of physical activity that children do while playing. And there's a paper on that. If anybody is interested, you can access it. Finally, in this area, we have also worked quite a bit in designing full-body interaction for children with autism. We started in a European project in 2001. This project is from more than 10 years later. It's well, one of the main difficulties of children with autism is that is getting to socialize. And we try to foster situations in which they have to socialize so that they can train these skills. In this experience, we made a child go through different sets of social activities, first with a virtual avatar, then with an adult, which was typically a parent or a caregiver, and finally with another ASD child that they had not met before. And this experience indeed proved to foster social initiation, and we have been collaborating with the Hospital Sant Joan de Déu here in Barcelona. Okay, so I will now go into the first of the two more detailed examples. I continue with children with autism. This is a project we have ongoing now. It's the actual application, interactive application, is called Lands of Fog, and this is also trying to foster social initiation in children with autism. So we collaborate with the multidisciplinary unit on autism spectrum disorder of the Sant Joan de Déu Hospital. And in this installation, we bring a child with autism to play with a typically developed child in this full-body interactive experience, which is a large projection on the floor. And they have to explore it, and they have to discover things. And in this activity, then they hopefully start interacting with each other. But the important idea of bringing a child with autism with a typically developed child is that we are, on the one hand, trying to help the autism community to better cope with our society, but on the other hand, also trying to make our society, make typically developed children see autism in a more natural way and help them better integrate in this population. So here you can see how children use these nets to move through the environment and hunt different fireflies and get some characters as companions and then start interacting with the companions. And you will see that when they also collaborate and bring their characters together, there's this ritual through which the characters duplicate and then they merge and morph into new characters so they can discover new characters and have quite a bit of fun. It's been working quite well. The full installation looks like this. It's based on a very simple computer vision system that tracks the nets that we developed ourselves. It's meant to be low cost. It's quite a big installation, but we didn't want to use off-the-shelf motion capture systems, which are very expensive. One of those systems costs as much as all this installation together. So the idea is that this can eventually go to a gym of a school or a special space in a hospital, but that it is not extremely expensive. So how did we design this? Well, we based our hypothesis on the fact that if we provided a space for exploration and discovery, that would spark social initiation between the two children. The idea was that on discovering things, they would be sufficiently motivated to want to talk to the other child or to the parents or caregivers that can be standing outside the playing arena. This is, I don't have time to explain, but this comes from previous experience that we've had in this respect, and this hypothesis was already backed up a bit in this regard. So to foster exploration and discovery, we decided to use a floor projection because that's a natural way in which we explore the world by looking at the floor. When we are in the beach, we start moving the sand around to find seashells and things like that. And also, we wanted to provide them only with a limited view of the environment. That's why we covered the virtual environment in a layer of fog. And the layer of fog only opens when they put the net in the play area. So they have to move about to discover all the elements that are hidden below the fog. And this limited view allows them to have like this partial view and have to collaborate with the other user. So we also decided to have this interaction through an object because in talking with the psychologists that collaborated with us, we decided that it would allow them to have a higher focus and attention on what they were doing, and also a clear impact on where they were affecting the virtual environment. We allow solo activities. This is very important so that the child with autism especially, but also the other, doesn't feel they are forced into interacting with the other child, that they can go at their own tempo. The environment is 6 meters in diameter, so there's sufficient space for them to, at the beginning, just move in their own area, but then as they explore, they gradually come together and things start to occur in their proximity. So we define the joint activities only as something that we foster, that we encourage, and despite the fact that until before this project, all previous projects that try to foster collaboration between children with autism and other users used what is called enforced collaboration. That is that they could only do things by collaborating and they could not do anything else. We didn't like that approach because, of course, if you force them to collaborate and they cannot do anything else, if they end up collaborating, that's just because they have no other thing to do. And we wanted to prove that our system could foster collaboration even when the children could do solo activities. And that proved quite useful and worked quite well. Well, to decide what should the virtual environment and characters and all elements look like, we used, as I was saying before, a participatory design with 4 ASC children as co-designers, with 2 concept designers, like graphical artists, 1 psychologist, and a team of interaction designers and developers, basically us. And in these sessions that we had together with them, we started doing different activities to find out what were their likes, their dislikes, and that's why this environment ended up having this appearance, because we allow them to have their voice be heard and participate in the design. Well, I don't have time to go into detail of the results, just to show you that we've had quite good results with respect to the social initiation aspects. One thing I didn't mention, social initiation is something that is very difficult to undertake by traditional techniques by therapists because it is very difficult to know whether the activity of the child is actually a response to something that the therapist or caregiver did, or whether it really came out of an internal will of the child. This is why using technology is very useful in this case, because technology can foster things and then it can motivate the child to have this internal motivation of doing the socialization. And we had, well, very interesting results, like increasing the amount of social initiation behaviors, increased the amount of responses by the ASD child, the number of manipulated virtual elements, the mean distance between the children significantly decreased, etc. There's a paper on this, well, a couple of papers on this that you can have a look later if you want. And now we're in the second stage. The previous phase was funded by the Recercaixa, and now we have some funding from Maria de Maeztu here in the department, and we are incorporating physiological data. Until now, our evaluation was based on system data, system log files, and the observation of the video coding. And from that, we tried to find how the progress of children was going through the sessions. But now we are incorporating also heart rate variability and electrodermal activity, which is hidden in this sort of superhero cape that they wear, so that they are not feeling daunted by the technology and the sensors that they have to be wearing. And it's worked quite well. They like to wear this. It's a little bit heavy, so it's a feeling that children with autism usually like, and this has worked quite well. So we are triangulating, or we will start to triangulate now this data, system data, physiological data, and video coding. And we will be putting all this data also in a database which will be open to the international scientific community. It will be the first time that such a database is created, and we hope this can be very useful for other researchers around the world. And finally, the second project I wanted to talk a bit more in detail about is a new paradigm for augmented reality that we call World of Support. And the idea is that we started thinking how we could provide full body interaction in areas that are not bounded by a specific installation as the ones you have seen. The applications you have seen, there's always a specifically prepared area which has a certain amount of technology and sensors and systems that allow the interaction in that specific limited area. But we wanted to start to analyze how we could provide this full body interaction. And of course, now in the past few years, augmented reality is something that is quite big. But we started analyzing how it is being done now, and we started to find some issues that worried us about the potential that we were foreseeing for having full body interaction in open spaces. And we decided to start to analyze what was going on. So we started from the classic AR paradigm, which is called the window in the world, which is when you take some sort of smartphone or tablet, and through its camera, you capture the physical world in front of you. It is shown on the screen, and then the interactive system provides some sort of added digital information. And there were already some critical papers on the actual communication and mediation aspects of these experiences to the user, and how these visits to different spaces could be hindered by this configuration, by this paradigm. and we started to analyze it more in detail. So from the point of view of the experience, this type of paradigm provides a very individual type of experience. And not only individual, but also isolating, because if everybody has its own device, nobody knows what the others are doing or seeing. And this is something that worried us, because when you go to public spaces, you usually go in group. And you want to share the experience with other people, and you want to be having the experience at the same time. So here, the users are co-located, but they're not really having a group activity. From the point of view of interaction, interaction is also very individual. And even if somebody looks over your shoulder, only the device holder actually has interaction potential. So this is, again, limiting and making it very individual. Very importantly for us, the notion of situatedness was a key issue. When you go to a place in which there is a reason for augmenting it, it means that the actual site is very important, and that you have taken some effort in going there and spend some resources, whether time, money, or both, to go to that place. And obviously, you want to focus on the physical environment. But the fact of having this screen in front of you and focusing only on the screen generates what some authors have called a digital divider. The example I always like to put is, imagine parents going to a final ceremony of their children in school, and having a play in an auditorium, and all the parents are recording their children with their mobiles. And they have to keep an eye on the screen so that they really frame where their children is, so that their children is never lost. And so they only have the experience of that physical activity, of that physical space, of that physical event through the screen. And then they go back home and show it to the family, to the grandparents and uncles, and they again see it on screen. And they never had the physical, direct experience of that situation, which we thought was not very good. Finally, also accidents can occur. If you are walking around looking at the screen, you might not see things on your way or potential dangers. And therefore, this is also something to be taken care of. Many museums nowadays are prohibiting the use of mobile phones, not only for augmented reality activities, but also for taking pictures, because you're focusing on the screen and you forget about the physical space around you. So this doesn't mean that window in the world is something that we should not do anymore. It obviously has very interesting advantages, and now I'm here being critical just because I want to make a point on how we wanted to find other ways of doing this, and that could counter these issues that we were finding. So we decided to start looking at what are called projective augmentation. There's already some research being done in that, but it's barely scratching the surface, and it's very like trial and error things that are being done just because the technology is allowing a little bit. But we decided to do a very conceptual analysis, and the idea is that you project onto the real world, onto the physical world. And therefore, this idea of augmentation is by this idea of the world being a support. So this conceptual new paradigm was defined, and we had a paper published in the CHI conference, which is the main conference on human-computer interaction, that was presented this last June in Denver. And the idea, the ultimate idea, is to have some sort of magic lantern which has a camera system that senses the world. It senses the geometry, the organization, the objects, the location, and even other users. And it also has some sort of projection systems, such as a Pico projector that already exist, and they are evolving rapidly, although most of them are still not very bright and have a low resolution, but things will be coming, to be able to project this augmentation back onto the world. This provides the following advantages as we see. Comparing the experience now, if the user points this magic lantern towards the environment, there's a projection on the environment, and this not only puts the augmentation there in front of you, but it immediately opens it to the group. So it allows discussion, comments, and common group activities that you usually find when you go to public spaces. So we like that very much. With respect to interaction, not only the device holder can interact with the augmented elements, because a user or different users can stand in front of the device and right next to the projected elements. The system can recognize the gestures or movements of the user, and the user can start interacting with those virtual elements on physical space. So it is a multi-user system. With respect to situatedness, this is very important for us. The physical space is what rules the signification. So your first focus is on physical space. You're seeing it there. As I was saying before, it takes a lot of effort to go to certain places, so you want to see the physical space, and that's where the meaning starts. And from that meaning that you're seeing there, then you augment it through the projected elements. So comparing these two, you can see how the different issues are quite well compensated by the world of support paradigm. Of course, you cannot use it everywhere. If there's bright sunlight, you have difficulties in projecting, but also you have difficulties in seeing screens in bright sunlight, so it's not so different. But obviously, there's some advantages from the window on the world, because if you want to reconstruct a whole building that is not there, and you don't have anything to project on, obviously, window on the world allows you to see this complete reconstruction. That is not feasible in world of support. But as I said before, each medium has its own specificities, its own advantages, and we have to be able to make best use of all of them. So in this conceptual design or definition of the world of support paradigm, we have gone 20 steps ahead of what technology can really provide nowadays. But that's how things have to be going. No? Technology has to be providing to solve the problems that we conceptually create and that we think can help us in different ways. Obviously, there are now many AR libraries coming out, open source. They are quickly evolving. For example, AR Core by Google, and this is supported by all the previously known as Tango research and development. Also, Apple with its AR kit is supported by a very large community. They are competing against each other, so that's going to foster well, a lot of competition and advances, which we are looking forward to and which we will be starting to use. But we decided to start testing things to be able to analyze them. We're not going to be waiting for technology to provide, so we started little by little. And therefore, we started from a simple prototype based on visual markers, as the one that you can see there on the right, and with a system called Vuforia from within Unity, we can project, well, we can detect these markers and locate specific virtual elements and activities in physical space. This simple prototype is using a tablet, and we used a tablet as opposed to a smartphone because we wanted to be able to do analysis and compare the window on the world with the world of support, and we thought that having a small screen of a smartphone competing with the projection would not be as fair as having a larger screen. So this is now our bulky prototype, but it's going to be getting smaller as we go ahead. It has, as you can see, a tablet, but it's used basically only for computing power, and mirrored at 45 degrees to allow the camera to have a forward view, etc. Loudspeaker, the Pico projector, etc. And we are testing this now in a cultural heritage location or context, which is the Refugi 307 in Montjuic, which is a bomb shelter from the Spanish Civil War, which has guided visits. It belongs to the Museu d'Història de Barcelona, and we're collaborating with them to design aids through this World of Support applications for the guided visit with schools. And a paper on the preliminaries of this was also presented at CAI this past June. So I would like to thank my team that has helped me greatly in being able to do all this work through these years. And also 3 of my previous PhD students that are not anymore with us, but that I'd like to acknowledge their hard work and what they've been contributing to. And thank you very much to all of you. Any questions?
Any questions for Narcís?
Okay, thanks, Narcís. No, it's a very interesting, very intriguing work. I wonder whether you use and analyze body language models to communicate specific meanings. No?
Yeah, no, we don't. And it would be great to start a collaboration with you on that. Yes, I think we've based our research more on activity, on action, attitudes, behaviors to generate meaning, rather than on language, because of course full body interaction deals with all these things. Of course, we could use models based on linguistics to be posed. The only thing is that the things that I've seen until now applied in this way usually end up defining gesture-based interaction. Gesture-based interaction can have many advantages, but has one very important limitation, which is that you are actually defining a specific language. You have to have the users learn those gestures. You have to have the users go through this process of learning the semantics and the syntactics first of those gestures. And if you don't do those gestures adequately, then you cannot interact. Our goal is always to have something much more free, much more open, much less constrained as to defining a specific language with gestures. Gestures can be very interesting in many areas, though, so we are open to having a look at that. Yes.
Yeah, what I actually meant, so it's a body language, so, and I guess now this is socially specific, social environment, and also, let's say, culturally specific. So
oh yes,
it
yes.
might be interesting to look, so what are the patterns of the body language?
Yeah.
So specific to your subjects. For example,
yeah, indeed. So if you have any references, we'll be very happy to get them if you can send them. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
Hey, hello. I have a philosophical question. So I'm just going to start with that, and then I have another one. Do you agree with the notion that life is a simulation?
No.
No?
No. Let me see. We could get on with this in very, very dangerous tracks and roads. Okay. On the one hand, nothing that I do, I take it as a simulation. Because I think that we have our physical world and our physical activities already there for us to use and take advantage of. And if we are doing something that is incorporating technology in that sense, it is because we want to do things that we cannot do otherwise. That's one of the first things that we always analyze. Could we be doing this without technology? Not even with full body interaction or very sophisticated technology? No. Could we do it with no technology at all? If the answer is yes, we could be doing it with paper cutting, or we could be doing it by modeling with clay, but then it makes no sense using all this paraphernalia and spending so much money and effort in all this. So that's one of the things. So in that sense, I don't take it as a simulation, because I think that we have to go past that step. And this is why I don't usually talk about virtual reality in this field, because virtual reality is very much always constrained and framed in the simulation philosophy, and I don't like that. Before I started doing things in full body interaction, I spent around 10 years working in virtual reality as an art production medium together with my brother, who's around here. And we tried to work away from simulation. So it is something that I have very clear in my mind. Yeah.
Cool. So the second question is, so exposing those little kids to virtual settings, do you think this will affect their ability to kind of distinguish between what is real and what is not later on?
Yeah, well, actually technology has become so much part of our lives that it is real. It's there. We have it. We can use it all the time. So this idea of distinguishing between what is real and what isn't is also a very delicate question, and something that we could discuss quite a while about that. The idea here is that we try to provide environments through which children can learn things or can train themselves in certain areas as if they were using any other tool. That's why none of the systems that we use for children with autism are meant to be unsupervised. They are always meant to be tools for therapists and for caregivers, as they can also use Lego, or they can use puzzles, or they can use drawing with pencils. It's one more tool. It's opening the range of possibilities of things to help them in different ways. And this is also true for when we're doing applications for museums or for informal learning in schools or whatever. So this differentiation, I don't think it's so important when you are taking this as a tool and only as one more activity in your life. Thank you for your questions. Very interesting, very difficult.
Very deep. Més preguntes? More questions? Is everything clear? I have one question about tech transfer. So you work very close to applications. So you usually work with museums or what's your idea about tech transfer? So how far are you to build something more commercial and something that can create a new spin-off, a new startup, or whatever?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. From university, we cannot expect to provide off-the-shelf products completely finished, because it takes a lot of work to industrialize these things. But we do have always at the back of our heads that this can, at the end, exit the four walls of university and go out into the real world. When we're doing things for museums, we work still at an experimental and research standpoint. Although it looks as something very working and feasible, it's still prototypes. But we hope that at some point things will be sufficiently mature so that they will be transferred. When working with museums, it's also difficult because there's no good framework on the side of the museums to be able to believe in how universities can help them in these sort of things. We have difficulties in that they usually see universities as places that generate systems that are very flaky, that are not very working very well. But we've shown little by little that we can do things that can work, and maybe in the end things will be transferred. For example, for the event in Barcelona, for the Universal Forum of Cultures, our system was working there for 141 days, and more than 317,000 users went through it, and it didn't break down. So that was quite a big thing. Therefore, we can do things seriously here. With the interactive slide, for example, we tried to generate a spin-off and make it a product. We even won one of the 10 awards from Axio to be trained on how to generate a spin-off. But it was exactly at the time when the crisis went like really crazy, and then we never managed to do it. And the person that I had at that time that was really motivated in trying to do it went another way, and I haven't had time to try it again. But it's indeed something that I would look forward to.
Another question about the 3 PhDs. What are they doing right now?
Oh, at the top, Laura, she has now Juan de la Cierva, and she has had to live here, obviously, but we will be in touch with her. So she's now doing research in her educational interests and technology that she's had all these years. Joan Mora, he's working at a company that is a branch of a German company that is here in Barcelona. They are doing virtual reality for airplanes. So they are doing virtual reality applications with headsets for large plane flights. And Pascal, he's also in a startup here in Barcelona doing interactive installations for public spaces.
So, thank you, Narcís, for your talk, and see you in a couple of weeks here.
Thank you, everyone.